Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. According to a CNBC report, Google's parent company, Alphabet, announced plans on Monday to raise $80 billion through stock sales to finance the expansion of its world-class artificial intelligence compute infrastructure. The fundraising initiative includes a significant $10 billion private placement from Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, which has been steadily building a major stake in the tech giant since last year. The remaining funds will be raised through $30 billion in underwritten offerings and a $40 billion at the market offering program slated to begin in the third quarter. Alphabet stated that the massive capital injection is necessary to meet unprecedented consumer and enterprise demand for its AI solutions, which currently exceeds available supply. This move follows Alphabet's upward revision of its annual capital expenditure forecast to as much as $190 billion, driven primarily by CEO Sundar Pichai's focus on securing compute capacity. Wall Street analysts estimate that combined AI spending by major tech hyperscalers could top $700 billion this year alone. According to a report by Liberty Times, the United Nations is facing an unprecedented financial crisis and could go bankrupt by mid-August due to billions of dollars in unpaid membership dues from its two largest contributors, the United States and China. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned of the impending collapse, forcing the organization to implement its most drastic austerity measures in history. The United States currently owes more than $4 billion, exacerbated by the Trump administration's withdrawals from various global organizations. Meanwhile, China still owes approximately $455 million, despite a recent payment of $850 million. Together, the two nations fund about 42% of the UN's basic budget. To keep the organization afloat, Guterres has announced extreme cost-cutting measures. These include eliminating a record 3,000 administrative positions, reducing translator hours, closing offices, shutting down elevators to save energy, and postponing repairs on the New York headquarters. Additionally, the UN is accelerating the downsizing of peacekeeping missions in regions like the Democratic Republic of Congo and delaying financial compensation to troop-contributing nations like Nepal and Bangladesh. According to a report by the Liberty Times, Zelenskyy, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's chief of staff, Kirill Budanov, stated on June 1st that reaching an agreement to end the war with Russia before winter is a feasible outcome. Budanov emphasized that Zelenskyy has instructed officials to try to end the war as quickly as possible, ideally before winter, calling this goal timely and practical. Zelenskyy previously expressed hope to advance peace negotiations before the cold season, noting that Ukraine's strategic position on the battlefield has improved. Currently, U.S.-mediated negotiations have stalled as Washington shifts its focus toward conflicts in the Middle East. However, Budanov expects a U.S. delegation to visit Moscow and Kyiv in the near future. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials report that the advance of Russian ground forces has slowed, while Ukraine has intensified long-range strikes on Russian oil infrastructure. A senior Ukrainian commander noted that Kyiv has a 6-month window to seize the initiative on the battlefield and gain leverage for future negotiations. According to a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, published on June 1, 2026, and covered by the Liberty Times, Chinese enterprises in 15 key industrial sectors received state subsidies far exceeding those of their international competitors between 2005 and 2024. The report estimates that Chinese firms received government support ranging from direct subsidies and tax breaks to cheap bank loans, averaging 3 to 8 times more than firms in OECD nations. This state backing was also significantly higher than that in non-OECD countries like India and Brazil. In 2024 alone, these 15 critical sectors received approximately $108 billion in government support. The OECD notes that nearly 60% of Chinese firms' global market share growth over the past 2 decades is directly attributable to these massive subsidies, enabling dominance in sectors like solar panels, shipbuilding, and steel. OECD Secretary General Matthias Cormann compared these state subsidies to doping in sports, warning that they artificially bolster less productive and less innovative participants at the expense of more efficient global competitors. The 15 surveyed industries span aerospace, semiconductors, electric vehicles, and wind turbines. According to Al Jazeera, Denmark's social democratic leader, Mette Frederiksen, has announced an agreement to form a center-left minority government, securing her 3rd consecutive term as prime minister. This breakthrough ends over 2 months of political deadlock following a highly fractured general election in March, where voter frustration over a prolonged cost-of-living crisis stripped her previous coalition of its majority. However, the returning premier faces an immediate and precarious foreign policy crisis with the United States. Tensions have spiked over the future of Greenland following threats from U.S. President Donald Trump to annex the self-governed Danish territory. Frederiksen has firmly rejected any suggestions of ceding sovereignty, warning that a U.S. takeover would signal the end of NATO. Navigating this strategic standoff over Greenland's mineral resources and military bases, including the U.S. Patufik Space Base, will be a central challenge for her new administration. Additionally, the minority government must manage a deteriorating security environment in Europe, which has seen Denmark rapidly scale up its defense spending to over 3% of GDP and expand military conscription to women due to Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.